Welcome to a World of Good podcast. I'm Nate Tatman.
And I'm Andrew Gale.
And we are two friends
who love Jesus,
care about the church,
and travel the world to share stories of people who do the same.
Our conversations happen in all kinds of places,
like a coffee shop and an airport terminal,
or even the back of a crowded taxi.
But no matter where we go, from Argentina to Zimbabwe,
we capture stories of the good God is doing around the world.
And we hope those stories will do you a world of good.
Well, Dr. Latif, thank you so much for joining me and so willingly. I don't know if I asked you permission to do this or if I just said, hey, I'm going to interview you. But regardless, you made the decision to join me and to be a part of this. So thank you for taking some time to be here and,
it's an honor
to do
to
this.
me to be with you, my friend Nate. I thank God that I am with you.
Yeah. And we have been together for quite a few days now. First in Dubai, we had some meetings there, and now here in Egypt. And we have been traveling, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a few minutes, but traveling up and down the Nile River together, spending a lot of time together in the car and meetings and hotels in the last 4 or 5 days or so.
It was very good chance to me to be with you.
Yes.
In Dubai or in Egypt, and welcome in Egypt to be with us.
Thank you.
And among our churches.
Thank you. I have felt so welcomed. It's been great to be here and to be with you, of course, and your family, but also amongst all the churches and the church family here and the Church of God in Egypt.
You are welcome.
Thank you. So you are the national leader for the General Assembly for the Church of God here in Egypt, but you're also a pastor
Yes.
of a local church in Ragab Pasha, which is in Alexandria,
Yes.
right? And did I pronounce that correctly with my
Yes.
American accent?
Yes.
How would you pronounce that?
Raghab Basha.
It's more in the throat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ragab Pasha.
Basha. Yeah.
Pasha. Okay. Tell me about your church. I had the opportunity to preach there early on in the week, and it was a great experience. I love being with your church family, but as a pastor, describe your church to us.
My church in Alexandria, in a very crowded region. I am grown up in this church while I was 4 years old. And I'm grown up in this church. I accepted Jesus Christ there while I was 11 years old. And then I am grown up spiritually under supervision of my pastors there. And then gradually I involved in the ministry till I finished my study in pharmacy. Faculty of Pharmacy. Then I worked as a pharmacist for almost 20 years. And then I obeyed the calling of God to be his man and to be pastor so that I can care with his people.
Yeah.
My church is a spiritual church. We live as a family. And we have a statement we used to say as a congregation that we are a church who make a family because there is many families, they initiate churches, but we are a church initiate a family. So we live in the church as one family. All the children are brothers, all the sisters are mothers. I met with a sister. She was going to our church almost every year, to spend time with us to introduce some theological subjects. And one day she said, I am confused. Who is son of who? You said for this, go with your brother. And this child is belong to another family. I said, all are our children and all are parents for all. So we live as a family. In sad occasions, in happy occasions, we are in unity. You will see in every occasion, people of the church connect together to be as one body. We live as the Bible said that we are the body of Christ. So we live in unity and love, and we communicate with communication. Spiritually, the church is Bible teaching well, so people live with the principle of the Bible. And I thank God that there is many leaders in the church. We have 48
Wow.
leaders in the ministry. in the many activities and the ministries. Sunday school, lady meeting, youth meetings, and we have trained these leaders to be in the ministry. Also, the church have many of youth, and we train them in the ministry, so they carry the responsibility for all the activities and the ministry in the church.
Yeah, and you've described to me before about how your church is like a family. And again, you've shared that with me before, but until you're there and experience it, you really begin to understand that no, it's not just a phrase that you use, but they're actually a family together. And so when I had the opportunity to go and to preach, there was a baby dedication that took place that service as well, and there was so much love and support for that family.
We call this baby, it is the youngest member in the church.
Yes, the youngest member of the church, and everybody was there to support that family and to love that family. And then afterwards,
and
there was
joy and be happy.
Yeah, and there was the reception, and nobody wanted to leave. Everybody wanted to stay, and we were like packed in this little front part of the church building, and it was just great. Everybody, you could see everybody enjoyed one another's presence.
This is the fact that we live in the church.
Yeah.
And also we have many couples or recent marriage from the church.
From inside the church, yeah.
The groom takes the bride from the church, and there is new families.
Yeah.
And I enjoy with this because this family belonging to the Church of God. So the child from the first day of his life is Church of God member.
Yeah, yeah.
So the church will grow well by this way. I think we have around 10 cases of marriage from inside
the church. Yeah. And before
sorry.
Yeah.
In preparing to the wedding party, to the home that they will live, the new couple will live, the church also involved.
They're involved in that decision process.
The youth can carry the furniture to the home, the sisters arrange the clothes and
That's great.
the house, everything is done with...
It's a family.
It's
a family. It's a family. And your church has been growing in numbers as well, and you're kind of in the middle, or you've started a building project this summer, I believe in June, right?
Yes.
You guys had to move out of your building.
Because the church is built in 1928. So now 94 years for the buildings. There is many damage and the cracks in the walls. So we got a license from the government to renew the church. And we started in last June. And we expect that we have to continue for maybe 1 year at least to finish the renewing the church. And we want to pray for that because it is very large or huge project.
Yes.
And we need wisdom from God to do His willing.
Yeah, and especially it's important in Egypt for the churches to maintain their property, to maintain their buildings, because at any point where it becomes in a situation where you can't meet in that building or in that location, you may not keep or maintain that property.
Yes, maintenance is very important thing to care or concerning with, because also if there is damage in the building, it is difficult to get license to rebuild the church.
Yeah.
You may renew, repair, but if the building is damaged, then to get the license to rebuild, it is difficult process and take many years.
Yeah, it can take a long time. So as I mentioned earlier, we had the opportunity to visit with 12 churches and their pastors throughout Egypt. Maybe just share a little bit about those 12 churches, where they're located, and the relationship that you have with those pastors.
First, I enjoyed very much to be with you in this trip.
Yeah, we went up and down the Nile River, didn't we?
Also, it was very difficult for you. You can't take your time and rest. I know that. Thank you that you can continue with me in this trip.
Yeah, it was not easy keeping up with you. I'm much younger than you are, but you are much more active than I am. You are always moving, always going.
My pastors in the General Assembly usually say
That's
the same.
what they say, huh?
But I thank God, it is the grace of God.
Yeah.
He gave us the strength and the power to do His willing. Our churches, we have 12 churches, belong to Church of God, General Assembly. 5 of them in Upper Egypt region, which is in south of Egypt, and 5 of them in the north of Egypt.
So the 5 in Upper Egypt, which is
Egypt.
located in the southern part of Egypt. So why do they call that Upper Egypt?
Yes, it is in south.
But why do they use the term Upper Egypt?
We didn't know, but from the ancient times, they...
That's how they referred to that area?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have 5 also in the north.
Mm-hmm.
In Alexandria, there is 4, and besides, there is the neighbor governorate to Alexandria is Bahira. We have 1 there. So it's 5 in north and 5 in south. And we have 2 in Cairo, which is the capital of Egypt.
And right in the center.
And the distance between the north and south around 800 kilometers. So it is...
I believe
far,
it.
Yeah.
I believe it. I traveled up and down.
We have 32 governorates or states in Egypt.
Okay.
We are located in 5 only, and this is sad for me.
Yeah.
So our vision that God help us to spread in more governorates. If we have at least 1 church in each governorate, we will have 32 at
32.
least.
Yeah, at least 32.
Yeah. I thank God for the relation between the pastors and the churches. Many times we can do conference, collect people of God in our different churches all over Egypt. We have a conference center, so we do this conference at this conference center. They collect the families or youth or children, certain category of our people to take something about the spiritual life.
Yeah, and I was able to visit the conference center as well, and that was a treat. It is a great property, and I know there's plans to continue to improve and build upon that.
Yeah, and through this connection, and also I decided to visit each church of our churches at least once a year. So there is a good connection between the General Assembly leadership and the people in our churches.
In the churches.
They saw the executive committee, they listen and hear about Jesus Christ through the leaders. We ask about their needs and we support them as we can for their challenges and the needs.
Yeah. So you've been your official title with the General Assembly is what?
Yes.
What's your official title?
President
of
the General Assembly of Church of God.
President of the General Assembly.
Or General Assembly Church of God President.
And so as the president, you've been in that role for how many years now?
This is the 9th year.
The 9th year. So you're in your 3rd term as the president?
Because our term in presidency or election is 4 years.
Every 4 years.
I ended 2 terms and this is the 3rd term and it will be the last term. Then I hope any one of my brothers and pastors can take this position to lead the General Assembly. And we are in unity.
Yeah.
So anyone lead and we will support together.
As a team.
We are doing the work of God together as one.
Yeah. So over those 9 years as the president, what changes have you seen? Physical changes, spiritual changes in the Church of God in Egypt?
God gave us a vision regarding the work in the General Assembly. There were 3 steps for that. The first step, we are concerning with the spiritual situation of the churches. Because around 10 years ago, we have some churches which is in weak situation spiritually. So firstly, as executive committee and as a president, we was concerning to strengthen our churches, which are established and exist, to be strong in the relationship with God. Our people have a good relation with God. So this is the first stage. And now I can say that more than 90% of our churches are strong spiritually.
Yeah.
Second stage was to renew the old buildings and the damage. So firstly, we are not concerned with the building because, as you know, the church is
It's
not a
the
building.
Yeah.
We are concerned with the life
Yep.
of people of God in our churches.
Yep.
Through the first stage, we work on the life of the pastors to be qualified enough to lead personally and spiritually. We supported them in master degree studies. We collect them in meetings to give them something about how to be a pastor, good pastor for your church. So we make many developments in the life of pastors concerning the spiritual life of the church.
Yeah. And not only do you ensure of the training and that they're prepared to be a pastor, but also in that role, you care for them relationally, and personally as well. And so I think either this year or last year, all the pastors and their families went on vacation together.
Yeah.
And the General Assembly helped pay for part of that for them to be able to do that.
We used to do this every year. From about 4 or 5 years ago, we initiated this idea because we as pastors' families be in unity and good connection together.
Yeah.
So we initiated this idea that we will collect our wives and children to be as a big family.
Yeah.
And we make a group on WhatsApp with this name, Family of a Church of God.
Oh, that's great.
So we'll be together to spend some time. So our wives knowing each other and be in relation. Now they can call each other.
Yeah.
They can pray with each other. So also our children recognize each other. Recently, there was a big event collecting all youth in Egypt from different churches, evangelical churches. So our children, because they are knowing each other, they communicate each other to be together at this event, and they collect as a group and take pictures.
That's great.
This type of relationship was not...
Didn't have it before.
Didn't have it before.
Yeah.
So there is a good relation now between pastors, between children, between wives.
Yeah.
We live as one family. What God led me in my church, local church, I applied it when I became as a president for the Church of God General Assembly to be in the big family. So I have connected with each one of our pastors as a person or one-to-one relationship, as his brother, as his father. And I connected with each family of the pastors. They consider me as a father, so they shared their lives.
Yeah.
Especially in very critical points, dealing with each pastor as my son or as my small brother.
Yeah. And I think I shared with one of the pastors, this was one of my observations, that the local churches and the pastors serve as a family, as a greater family. And there's so many churches that I know of where the pastor is in isolation. They're alone. They don't have those partnerships or those networks or that support system. And so it's evident that as I visited your pastors in their churches, that they are supported, they are loved, they are cared for, that they're not doing this ministry by themselves. And so that's such a key.
Many of our pastors, when they call me, they use the expression, my father. To be honest, this is a big change in our General Assembly because in the past,
it wasn't this way.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
But now, really, we are as one family. I, as a member in Church of God, while I was a child and grown up, I saw by my eyes that the churches was isolated and the leadership in a certain situation different. And they didn't care.
Yeah.
Everyone say, okay, my church is good, so I am good.
Yep.
But now it is changed totally because anyone has a project in his church. We are all
together.
supports.
Yep.
Anyone, his family suffering for certain needs, all the family will be supported him. I'm proud to say that one of our pastors, his child was suffering in something which is very bad in his kidney, and he need to make surgery for his child, but the cost was very high.
Yeah.
And he shared me as a father and as a president of General Assembly about this situation. I said, don't worry, we are all with you. And his church supported with something in the cost, and the General Assembly supported him with the rest. Don't afraid, we are one family. Your child is our child. So this is the situation, the life that we live as one family.
Yeah.
But second stage, regarding to the vision, second stage is to concern with the buildings.
The buildings. Yep.
To be quite enough for the meetings and the activities. So we have many projects. We rebuild and celebrate with one church rebuilt. In 5th of next November, we'll celebrate with second church rebuilt. You saw it.
Yeah.
And we have two projects are processing, one in Upper Egypt and one in the north, one renewing. This is my church in Alexandria, and this other church in Upper Egypt. This is a new building for the church because the old building is very narrow to contain all people attend the meetings. So they bought land and now they build the church, the building of the church there, so they can transfer to this building.
Yeah.
After we finish this second stage, the third stage, we will start it, is to plant new churches in different governorates.
Yeah.
We have to go to other places. Like Jesus said when he was in the city, the disciples said to him that people need to listen to you. He said, we must go to the villagers and other places. So we must extend. Our churches are 12 till now.
Yeah.
While we are in Egypt from more than 110 years. This is sad.
Yeah.
For me, it's sad.
Yeah.
So our vision is to extend with the theology of the Church of God in other places. And we hope that God will support us with wisdom and everything we need to do this.
Yeah. And going back to the building situation again, one of my experiences was that almost in every situation, in every church, it wasn't, the emphasis was not about the building. It was on the people. It was on the church body. And the emphasis in regards to the building was, how do we maximize this space? What ministries can we begin or utilize with this space? Where, with this room, what can we do with this room to minister to people or to connect the community to this church, to this location? And that was almost every conversation we had. It was in that regards to using the building as a place, as a light in their communities.
Yes, as we go through renewing the churches or rebuild the churches, we put in our mind how to serve people who attend the church, and also how we can give a hand and support the community around the church. Even Christian or Muslims, we are not differentiate socially about our activities and the ministry to be as a servant. As Jesus said, we are light and salt.
Yeah, yeah. And then concerning your third stage, as you talked about church planting and starting new churches, I know that's something that you've shared with me before. And in order to do that, it's not just a location and a building and all of that kind of stuff, but it's also about preparing the next pastors for those locations as well. Something again, another observation I had was, as we traveled and as we went from location to location, it wasn't just the pastors that you were connected to, it was people in the churches, brothers and sisters that you've had long relationships with, as well as the youth and the children. You referred to many of them as your sons and as your daughters. And this is important for you. I think I remember you sharing a story about your office being open to all ages.
Yeah.
And you've had small children come in to speak with the pastor about situations. And even if there's a situation with another boy or child in the church.
If there is a problem between him and another boy, he comes to blame or to complain. And many times small children come to my office with open hug to give me a hug.
Yeah.
So I have a good relationship in my church. And also now, because of my visits to the churches, many of members in other churches, they know me, recognize me very well.
Yeah.
So I have a relationship with many families in the churches in Upper Egypt and in North in every day, in every way. But I enjoyed, and I am very happy that we have youth pastors.
Yes.
And God invests in their lives. And this is a hope for the Church of God that these youth pastors can lead the General Assembly to more development and more growing. So as we think about new churches, plant churches, we think about the pastors and to attract new pastors to be involved in General Assembly. Now we have one in one of our churches as assistants to the pastors, and when we think in a certain area to plant church there, we think in this assistant pastor to be the pastor
of that new church.
So we will open the door for accepting new pastors and train them, and then they can lead with us to plant churches in different places. But we have certain requirements to accept the pastor or the person who wanted to be involved in our General Assembly. We didn't accept anyone.
Sure.
We have requirements.
Yeah.
First of all, he must have a calling from God, because the ministry, as you know, is difficult.
Yep.
And the pastor facing many challenges. So, as Jesus said, before you start, you must calculate that you will pay.
Yep. What's the cost?
What is the cost?
Yep.
So this is first of all. But we are also concerning with his personality, how he is doing, self-control. Many properties or characters must be present. In interview, sometimes I asked some strange questions. And the executive committee asked me, what are these questions? May I ask about what color he prefer, what drink he wanted? They said, but from certain point of view, this reflects his personality.
Yeah.
So we search about his spiritual situation and his calling, and also his personality.
Yeah.
Then we can train him, and other issues, it is easy to equip him to be a pastor.
Yeah, yeah. And going back, that's one of the things, and I was going to refer to as well, as you're connecting and meeting, and you have many sons and daughters throughout these churches. You're looking for, and you're identifying who might have that call, even from a young age on up, because there were several that you introduced me to and said, he's going to be a pastor. He has a call to be a pastor.
I think we must have these eyes that see in our children, maybe the child that you can invest in his life for the future.
Yep.
And while I visit the churches and meet with youth, because always I search about youth to be leaders and lead the responsibility of General Assembly, I pray that God open my eyes for those who can be involved in General Assembly. I show you or speak with you about certain guy.
Yep.
He's a son of pastor, but not for this reason, but I felt and I pray for him that he will be a man of God and he can involve in the General Assembly. His life impacted in many other youth, and God can use him very well.
Yeah.
Always we must see who will lead, who
Yeah.
can involve.
Yep.
Even in the position of president of General Assembly, I am looking in my pastors, and I train many of them so that any one of them next term can lead General Assembly. It is very happy to me to see my children or my pastors, young pastors, to be in this position.
Yeah.
I will be happy that General Assembly is growing and
Yep.
going.
And in this way, it's not dependent upon one person in control or as the president, but it's dependent upon many people. And again, that's what a family is about.
You
Bringing
know,
this.
at this term or period of time, that is for me the final term to be
Yes.
as a president. I
Yes.
will continue as a pastor, but no, as a president, this is the final term. I put my eyes in at least two of our pastors. Any one of them can lead
Can
in
be the
the
president.
next period.
Yeah.
So I do my effort, my best to train them in the responsibilities of the president and how you can fulfill it.
Yeah.
If I go to certain office, governmental office to deal with certain challenges, I
You
took
bring them
one
along
of
with
them
you.
to see what I am dealing with and
Yeah.
how I can get what I want to get.
Yeah, that's great. One other thing in regarding to this, a change that has happened is that you're not just talking about raising up young leaders and looking for young pastors, but really there's been a transformation that's taken place over the last 10 years or so where a lot of young pastors have moved into the pastoral role.
Yes, more than 70% of our pastors are in the age of 30s.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
In the age of 30, so they're in their 30s.
Or in the border of 40.
On almost 40 or around 40.
Most of our pastors.
Yeah. So it's a young church in regards to age of the pastor and their heart and all of that. I think it's a great model for many of our churches
We
around
thank
the world.
God, we consider that the grace of God that He give us this attitude
Yeah.
and He give us wisdom in choosing the pastors. Really, I thank God very much for my General Assembly.
Yeah.
We are unique in unity,
Yep.
in using youth in ministry,
Yep.
in living as families.
Yep.
We as a pastors, one big family.
Absolutely.
This is, I think, this
Yeah, it
unique,
is. It
unique,
is. Yeah.
General Assembly.
There's not too many general assemblies that can identify those qualities and characteristics to describe their churches.
And I want to say that all pastors, they feel each other. If there is any one of us succeeded in a certain issue, all of us enjoy it.
Celebrate
and
with them.
rejoice and
Yeah.
celebrate.
Yeah,
And
for
if
sure.
one suffering is suffering, all of us.
Yep.
Concerning with this, what we can do for our brothers.
That's great. So my last question is, what good is God doing in your world today as you think about all the things that are happening and the different activities, the projects, the people? What good is God doing in your world today?
I see the work of God among us with great way, because many of our churches now is open the door to accept many people from the community in which the church exists. Also, there is some what we call our friends.
Yep.
They are not a Christian in origin. They come
Yeah.
to our churches, to our meetings, and we have many cases that they transferred to believe and to accept Jesus Christ as a savior. We don't go to attract those, but
Yep.
it is the grace of God that our doors opened. So they came to the house of God.
Yep.
This is the house of
Yep.
God. And they listen or hear the message of the gospel, and they accept Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So there is amazing stories about this. So we accept many people, new families, new couples, and also from our friends who came. This is very good. I see the hand of God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was a privilege for me to be able to hear some of those stories as well of those friends in one way or another finding themselves inside of the house of God, as you said,
Yes,
and
yes.
the unique ways in which they've found themselves.
Also,
there, so.
I see that the work of God among the Church of God in Egypt, God lead some of our pastors not only in the field or of his church, but he used them in the field of Egypt. So one of our pastors, he has a gift of God in praising, and so he decided to make a school for training leaders for worship. And he attracted many leaders for worship from different churches, evangelical or Orthodox, or to take some subjects about how to lead people of God in praise. So I think the Church of God is a leader church.
Yeah.
God used us in different fields.
Yep.
I have one of our pastors they hosted him or invited him in TV programs to discuss something. Yeah. So I have pastors, each one of them can affect or influence by a certain way, not only in local church, but
All
outside
throughout
also.
Egypt. That's amazing. Well, Dr. Latif, thank you so much for being with me and sharing what God is doing in and around Egypt. It's exciting. It's exciting for me. I've heard so many great things about what he is doing here. And so for me to come and experience this firsthand, and now I have mental pictures, I have stories to share, to take back with me, some that we can't share here, but we've had a great time together, and it's been a joy to be able to share this time with you.
It's a pleasure to me to be with you this time, and also to be with you over a long trip in Dubai and in
Yes.
Egypt. And we hope that your visit to Egypt will be repeated more and more.
For sure.
Because I told you that everyone come to Egypt and drink from the Nile River, will return back to Egypt.
Always return
Yeah.
back. I don't think I've drank from the Nile River though.
I
Literally.
will let you to drink
Okay, all right,
today.
all right. We'll have a drink later at the Nile
I
River.
will let you today.
All right.
And as you felt that God maybe love Egypt anymore.
I said that was a secret. Remember? That was a secret. Well, I have to edit that out.
Okay.
Yes. No. So yes, I did say in my role as regional coordinator, I had the opportunity to visit many churches around Europe and Middle East, and to see what is happening in the churches around Egypt. I said that maybe God likes Egypt a little bit more. So
We thank
yes.
you for your love and for your visit. You are concerning with our situation, and you pray for us. Thank you for your heart.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's a blessing for me to be a part of the ministry here in
We
Egypt.
pray
So
for
thank
you that God use you and bless your life, and He can protect your family and your ministry, and lead you and guide you with the Holy
Thank you.
Spirit.
Thank you
God
very
bless
much.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Latif.
Thanks for listening to A World of Good. A World of Good is a podcast production of Global Strategy and Church of God Ministries. Our theme song is Colorado by Leo Flores. If you want to join the conversation, visit us at Twitter at A World of Good Pod, on Instagram, A World of Good Podcast, or visit our website, chogglobal.org/A World of Good. And join us next time as we share more stories of good from around the world.